So welcome back, guys. It's Kids Coding Playground here. Today we'll be finishing the second part of the Christmas platformer. So from yesterday we had this code, so like all of this. I'm gonna slowly go through it. So if you did not finish anything, then you can do it right now. You can pause the video. And then we have the animated character. That's it. And then from yesterday we were able to make the player move around with friction. So yeah, that was what we did from yesterday. So we're going to work on the main character now. So let's go here. So remember from the move player X, speed X, we're gonna work on this. So we have a variable called deviation. So the variables without G in front of it are for this sprite only. You have to make deviation for this sprite only. It's a variable, so you're just gonna do this, set the deviation to 0. So what deviation is for like collision with walls and stuff like that. So we're gonna repeat until deviation is equal to 8 or not touching ground. So before I had deviation equals to 5, which does not work out very well because like you can glitch through the candy canes on one of my levels. So you want to do 8. So it depends on what your levels look like. So I'm gonna do 8. Then we're gonna get a not touching ground. So if it's not touching the ground, touching ground. Okay, and then we're gonna change the y by 1. Change y by 1. And then we're gonna change the deviation by 1. And after that, we're gonna get an if-then statement. So if-else statement. So let's go control. Get an if-else statement. Put it under this thing. So we're gonna get if it's touching the ground. If touching ground. And so this is for the wall jumping. So we're gonna put an if-else in the first if-then statement, if-then slot. And then if the key up or the W is being pressed. So we're gonna do if key up or W. So duplicate that. W. Right there. So this is for wall jumping. And then we're going to get another if-else statement. So go to control. And we're going to put that in the first slot. And I actually think this is not supposed to be an if-else. Sorry about that. It's supposed to be an if-then, not an if-else. So this if touching ground should be an if-then. So put that right there. Ground, and then put this in like that. So if key up or key W is being pressed, then we are going to, in this if-else statement, we're going to do if that whatever that speed X is right here is greater than 0. So 0 is greater, so we're going to get speed X greater than 0. Then we're going to set the speed X in -16. So this is the wall jumping script. Set G speed X to -16. Else we're gonna set G speed X to 16. And then we're gonna set in here, right here, we're gonna set the on ground to 0. Set on ground to 0. So when on ground is equal to 0, that means the player's inside the air. And then next we're going to use the jumping variable we made, I think. So jumping, it's for the sprite only. We're going to set jumping to 1. Jumping to 1 means it's jumping in progress. So we're going to set the jumping to 1. And then we're going to set the G velocity to 10. So that's going to be the velocity. And then we're going to change the X by the G speed X. Change X by G speed X. Right here. And after that, we're going to get else right here. We're going to set the G speed X to 0. Okay, and then after this, we're going to get an if-then statement. If deviation is equal to 8. If deviation is equal to 8. Deviation right here. Then we're going to do a change X. Change X by 0 minus SX. So that's going to be speed X, the 0 minus whatever the value speed X is. So we're going to get a subtraction symbol. 0 minus the speed X. So after that, we're gonna duplicate this. I mean, not duplicate it. We're gonna change y instead. To change the y by 0, we duplicate this though. Instead of speed x, we're gonna minus it by the deviation. Okay, so after that, this is the code for the wall jumping and like collision script. Okay, so next we want to make another custom block. So we're gonna call it jumping, and we want to click the run with screen without refresh right here. So we have the jumping. Now let's define it. Okay, so we're gonna get if then statement. We're gonna just duplicate this. If key up arrow or W is being pressed, put that in here. Then we're gonna get another if then statement. If the G on ground is greater than 0, this means it is on the ground if it's greater than 0. So if the G on ground is greater than 0, that means it is on the ground. If it's equal to 0, that means it's in the air. So it's greater than 0, it's on the ground. Okay, so we're only gonna allow the person to jump if it's on the ground. So we're gonna have to set the G on ground to 0. So if the player is on the ground, that means we're gonna set it G on ground to 0. That means you can jump. And then we're gonna set jumping to 1. So then you can actually jump. Jumping to 1. And then we're gonna set the G velocity to 15. Okay, so now we're finished with the jumping custom block. Remember what we did right here in the start all control? We're gonna have to call some more functions right here. So right here we're gonna call jumping as well, along with the movement control. Okay, so this is, we're gonna get an if else statement. So this is like jumping gravity and all that stuff. So when you're falling down, you'll fall quicker, and when you're jumping up, you'll fall slower. So when you're jumping, falling down from like right here, you're gonna fall faster. So we're gonna get an if else statement, duplicate this code, up arrow or key W. We're gonna put that right here. And then after that, we're gonna go to the variables, and then we're gonna change the G velocity by the G gravity. And then else we're going to change the G velocity by G gravity by times 2. So G gravity we define right here as -1 right here. So that means if you multiply it by 2, that means it'll be -2. So you're going to fall faster if you're falling down from a high area. So like that. And then after that, we're going to change the Y by the G velocity. So the G velocity is going to be the Y. So we're going to change Y by the G velocity. Okay, so now we've done all of that. So as you can see right now, when you click the play, they'll just fall down immediately because we have not done the ground detection. So that's why the ground is not working right now. So you have to we're going to add the code later after this. So like when you click play, the ground is not detecting, it's not blocking him. So now let's work on the script for that. So we're going to define a new custom block. Let's make a new block. So we're going to click the run screen without refresh, and then we're going to name this block check hit ground. So we're going to name it check hit ground. So it's to detect if it's hitting the ground, and we're going to add a boolean input. We're going to call it is jumping. So is jumping, run screen without refresh. Okay. And then we're going to click OK right here. And now we can define this thing. So we're going to repeat until, repeat until not touching ground. And then we're going to get an if else statement. So we're going to put this right here. So later we'll call this function, so you don't have to worry about it right now. We'll call it later. So then if it's not touching the ground, then so like you spawn right here, right? So we're gonna keep on decreasing the y by -1. So change y by -1. And then we're gonna set the g velocity to 0. G velocity to 0. And after that, else we're gonna change the y by 1, so then it will constantly push the player up on the ground, so then it won't fall through. That's why we did the run screen without refresh, so then it's always refreshing, so then it's always updating, so the player will never fall through. So we're gonna change the y by 1. The run screen without refresh just makes it immediate, so then it won't fall through. So that's what it does. So then we're gonna do change y by 1. Change y by 1, so then it'll keep on pushing it up. We're gonna set the g velocity to 0, and then set on ground to 1. Set on the ground to 1. Okay, so on ground is greater than 1, so right here. Okay, so we set the g on ground to 1 because it's on the ground, because right here we defined it right here as if the g on ground is greater than 1, that means it's on the ground. Okay, so now we have to add another if-then statement. Let's go to control. If jumping is equal to 1, if jumping is equal to 1, then we're gonna set jumping back to 0. Set jumping to 0. Okay, and then now we're gonna have to define what this Boolean input is. So next we're gonna get a check platform detections. From up here we broadcasted check platform detection right here, so now we're gonna receive it. So over here, when I receive check platform detection, we're gonna get this Boolean input. So if the g velocity is greater than 0, this is what this is jumping is g velocity greater than 0. G velocity is greater than 0. Okay, so that's what we're gonna put there. Okay, so now let's try it out. Okay, now let's try it out. So as you can see, now it is blocking the player from falling down. So now you can move on the ground pretty fine, and you have a little bit of friction. Okay, now I think we can work on maybe the spikes and we can create one level. Okay. Also, since we coded the jumping, now you can actually jump. So let's play it. You can move around, you can jump. So that's what we can do right now. Jump and move around. So yeah, we will work on the other levels now. So let's go. So for the ground, we have a bunch of costumes. I'm just gonna use the first costume right now. We're just gonna do one level for testing. So let's start out on the spikes. So we're gonna be using clones. So in the spikes, I'm gonna get it when green flag clicked. It's too big. When green flag is clicked, point direction of 90. Because in one level I made it flip upside down. So if you are gonna make spikes flip upside down, you have to make it point direction of 90 in the beginning. And then we're gonna make it go to the front layer and hide in the beginning. And we're gonna make a new my block. Place, clone, add. So we're gonna be using clones, like I said. Put two inputs. One has to be an X and one is Y. Okay, so then click OK. And then we're gonna set the X and Y. So we're gonna make it new variables. So I think we already have them right here. So as you can see, we have the X and Y. So for the X and Y, we have to make them for this sprite only. So make the X and Y variable for just the spikes only. So we're gonna set the X to this X, and we're gonna set the Y to this Y. And after that, we're gonna show and create a clone of myself. Okay, after creating a clone, when I start as a clone, we wanna go to the X and Y. So go to whatever the X and Y value is, which is this. Okay, and then next we want to we want to receive a message called reset. Okay, so now let's go to the main character. So before we can finish the spikes, we have to broadcast a message from the main character. So remember we had this check player position, so we're gonna need it. Check player position. Player position. So, and then we're gonna get a forever loop. Forever loop. If you don't have to worry about the top right now yet, but we'll need it later, so we're just gonna add it right now. So if touching green flag and level is less than 11, I did 10 levels, that's why 11 levels. So we're just gonna do like 3 levels right now, so I'm just gonna do it less than 3. So then we're gonna do touching green flag, and then we're gonna less than. I'm just gonna do 3 for now. Level, the variable level. Then we're gonna change the level by 1. So like when you touch the green flag, change the level by 1. Change level by 1, and then we're gonna broadcast a message. Then we're gonna name it start new level. Start new level. Okay, and then start new level, we're gonna broadcast it into here. So let's broadcast start new level right here in the main character. So start new level. We're going to broadcast reset and wait. We're gonna broadcast reset, a new message. Reset. And then we're gonna broadcast setup. So these are for like the other sprites. Setup is when you need multiple, and yeah, these are for basically the obstacles. And then we're gonna broadcast another start new level. So when I receive start new level, then we're gonna reset the player. Reset player, and we're gonna broadcast start game. Start game. Okay. Okay, so now after this we're going to go to the spikes. So let's go to the spike code. Okay, so now in the spikes we're going to get a reset. So like this is when you reset, you're gonna have to delete all the clones. So when I receive reset, delete this clone. And then down here in setup, this is setting up all of these spikes. So setup, we are going to set the X and Y to 0 in the beginning. Set X and set Y to 0. X and Y. And then we're going to get a if level is equal to 1. We only have 1 level right now. So if level is equal to 1. So level is equal to 1. Level. And then we're going to use the place the clone block. So you can just show the spikes. Like you can move this out of the way. You can like drag it maybe like right here, and then it'll show the X and Y position. Let's go back to the spikes, and then we just write the X, which is 17, and the Y is negative 115. Okay, so spikes obviously don't kill you right now, but as you can see, they will place the spikes there. And you can jump around, there's a little bit of friction. So yeah, that's basically it for this tutorial. And actually one last thing before we end the video, we actually want to add a little bit more code. So right here, we're going to go to the ground, when green flag clicked, go to 0, 0, let's go to the center, go to 0, 0, and then we're going to get a forever loop. Forever, if level is less than 4, okay, so if the level is less than 4, we're just gonna do 4 for now. Level. And we're gonna switch the costume to whatever level is. Switch costume to level. Put that in here. Okay, so now when you touch the green flag, as you can see, let's play it. When you touch the green flag, it'll switch to the next level. So you can see wall jumping is working as well. So yeah. As you can see, it's going to the next level, but it's not fully functioning yet. So yeah, that's basically it for this tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe and ring the notification bell as well. See you guys in the next video. Bye.